We're going to do that then. There we go. Change the background.
That's what I need.
That's how you do that. Okay. Hey, well, listen, it's great to have everybody, and just thrilled to be on a call with two industry giants and two people that are leading our industry well. And so thank you all for attending. Here's what I would say. As you're coming into the webinar, do this. Everything, type any questions on the right-hand side, but I want to give a special thank you to the Loan Officer Leadership Facebook group and community, as well as MGIC, strategic partners in a series that we're calling Join the Conversation. And so you guys stay connected to our Facebook group. We're putting out a lot of great content there. And today we're going to focus on just what we had talked about, how to continue to grow your business through system structure, selling skills, and messaging. And I've got two great friends with us. So we've got Ben Smidt. What's up, brother?
Hey, how's it going?
And then we got Dennis Black. What's up, my friend? How are you doing?
Good, Steve. How you doing, guys?
Man, we're doing great. And hey, let me just tell our audience real quick a little bit about you guys. Ben Smidt, just so you know, he's with MGIC. He's a digital strategist, a digital marketer, a speaker, an SEO expert out of Milwaukee with MGIC. And, an interesting thing about the Loan Officer Leadership podcast, several years ago, whenever this was just an idea and getting it out off the ground, I remember Ben grabbed one of the episodes and put it on the Loan Officer Hub, where it sat next to Jen Duplessis, Ben, who's now becoming a great friend. And for years it sat idle and dormant, but it helped us gain an audience, which today is now helping lead the industry. And I have such a fondness for you and for your just taking a chance on a guy who was interested in making a difference. And so I love you, brother, and I appreciate you for that.
Oh, we appreciate you, and quality content always wins out. So appreciate what you're putting out there for people to absorb in your podcast.
Hey, well, what we were laughing about this weekend, you and I were talking about, you need people in your life that amplify the message. And I think of you and MGIC as a amplifier to great messages. Hey, and Dennis Black he's a new friend, but not new to the business. 1988, you started Dennis Black and Associates, and you have a program, Master Sales Training, and doing topics which are absolutely needed, like providing the ultimate customer experience, maximizing productivity, phone selling skills, train the trainer. I mean, Dennis, I could go on and on about the content that you've got to help people. And so today what we want to do, we just want to have a conversation about what are you telling the students you're coaching, and Ben, how would you amplify the messages that are coming out? So Dennis, talk to us. What are you telling your students at this time?
Well, the first thing that I'm running into is that we have this anxiety right now about there isn't business going on, where there really is a lot of business going on. And I've spoken to 7 realtors in the last 2 weeks. And in the conversations I've had with them, 3 in Florida, 2 in Arizona, 2 in California, I talked to them and said, where are you at right now in terms of your confidence level that real estate is still going to be going on? And they said very high, because of the fact there's a lot of buyer demand. And they're seeing some prices come down from the sellers. So they're going to see what they want to know is the educational points the lenders can bring to them when they're open for conversations. Normally in April through June, you're not going to get to a good realtor. But now you can, because like everyone else, they're going through the same issue with the coronavirus. They're more accessible. So if you have their contact information, reach out, talk to them. They're looking for knowledge on tips to how to sell more effectively using social media, which Ben will touch on in just a minute. They're going to be looking at other areas in terms of products, and maybe they don't have time to sit down and talk to somebody when they're busy, but now they have that time. So I encourage all the loan officers here to be active in reaching out to your realtor in April through June, because if this thing lifts, we all hope it will soon. Let's assume it's third quarter. You're going to see a crazy second half of the year. That's what the realtors are saying to me. And I hope all the people in this call realize it's time to sell now. Don't wait until July.
That's good.
I would agree to that in terms of the opportunity to get in front of these folks is here. So what are you going to say? What gaps can you fill that they might have to help amplify that area in their life? So if they have a skills gap related to technology, maybe it's a great time to set aside 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and help them learn a different technology that will serve them well when things get busy. One example is if they already have a good source of social media content that they're pushing out, maybe they want to work with a social scheduler to help free up some more time so they don't have to always be on social media to get that message out. I always recommend, and I like to use personally, Buffer. There's a lot out there. There's Hootsuite. There's several others that can help alleviate that time that it's taking to post manually and structure out a little bit of a schedule to some of that content.
Hey, what a great strategy. You know, we assume everybody knows, like even on technology. It was interesting. I was on a call yesterday with a large real estate company, and while we're on the call, it's the management team, and they're saying, well, how do you put a backdrop, and how do you use a virtual background, and hey, when I go into Zoom, what am I doing with 1, 2, or 3? And I thought it was interesting because I realized quickly I take some of that for granted. Some of our loan officers that are watching are good at social posting. Some of them are good at Zoom calls. Some of them are good at videos and content, and you just assume everybody else is. But the more you put it out there, what we're finding is the broker owners and the agents are saying, wow, I didn't know, and that helps me get my message out in a much better light. Man, I think that's interesting. We just assume they know.
Well, the other thing that's important, too, is you got to realize that when we used to try and maybe go into an office for an office meeting. Well, those are gone. You're seeing right now. This means you can't do it via the web. You can't do it like we're doing right now. And a broker could set up for his agents or her agents easily access to a lender, giving them ideas and tips and tools to help them out through Zoom or other methodologies. So I think that's huge. The other part I want to touch on, which is interesting, is that we all need to learn from history. You referenced how long I've been doing this. Realtors remember the lenders who call on them in a refi market. And if you're choosing not to do that, it might bite you in the backside later on. So I really encourage everyone to remember, now's the time. You don't have, you've got a pipeline. We all understand that. Make 1 or 2 contacts to agents per week. That's about it. You don't have to do it on a regular basis to get into a point where you do it excessively. Manage your pipeline, get those loans closed, but don't forget to reach out once or twice to an agent. They'll remember it come July.
To build off of that, I would also suggest is look at yourself and your skill set that you have. What are you confident and comfortable in? And then look at your database, whether it's real estate referral partners or any other referral partners, and think about who could I help assist in terms of helping them grow their skill set in the area I'm comfortable with. And that could be then a great collaboration moment. So you could get on a call with somebody that you've identified that you can help them be better. And then maybe kick around some marketing ideas. I like to use personally Canva. I think a lot of people know about it now, but it's a really nice, easy to use marketing platform to create those social graphics, those visuals that you really need and want when you're starting to post things out, whatever it might be, whether it's email, YouTube, any social platform, etc. So it would be a good way to, I think, have a positive interaction with a referral partner around a collectively beneficial product like Canva.
Man, I love that. Well, and Dennis, what about the guy who says, I feel like it's maybe inappropriate to work out? To reach out to an agent, so much is going on. Speak to the fear of that. Because you don't want to feel like you're a slimy prospector and you're saying, hey, give me a business. Talk to a loan officer about that.
Yeah, no doubt. Because what you want to do is be an aid or an asset or a tool for them to be able to figure out, hey, maybe there's some financial mechanisms that I wasn't aware of with certain products that maybe a client who has the demand to buy a house may not be able to. Now they're scared. They don't want to do it till July or August. Let's talk about getting them pre-qualified, what we can do to maybe lock the loan for a longer period of time. Look at your investors, look at your products and say, hey, we can get your client pre-qualified, let you know where they're at. And so when that demand is released, you're ready to strike. And it's most importantly, I think, you can't pressure the realtor now. They're as anxious as all of us are, but they're also open to talk to now. We normally would not get that break. This time conversations, but I would do it, check and see if they're busy. The one thing I always teach when setting an appointment, use a referral. So Steve, you've got an agent at a Remax or a Keller Williams or somewhere else who uses you, ask permission from them to say, hey, can I use your name to call Paul Smith over at Berkshire Hathaway? And once you call Paul and you use that reference, It's an easier conversation. So everyone should be building up and checking their reference base of agents now where they can touch base with to use their name to get an appointment with another realtor.
I love that. Hey, and one thing I would encourage you, everyone who's watching, to start with proximity. Start with people who are close. And, I'm in the Houston market, and what's interesting is we're really trying to be a main resource for our agent partners. So what's happening is you're seeing a quick adjustment in the qualifications on government loans. You're seeing extreme pricing volatility on conventional loans. And so what we're doing is, I know for my team and I, we're going in and aggregating the right information that doesn't create fear and panic, but allows an agent to literally articulate the message. And Ben, maybe you can talk to this, but I was on the phone with a large company here just an hour ago with all of their agents in the meeting, helping them better understand what's happening in the market. And when literally a week ago, rates went from 3.25% to 5% in an afternoon, what this means to your client, but also having the opportunity to lead them. What's interesting, Dennis and Ben both, I heard somebody say this the other day. When you're flying across country, Dennis, if your pilot comes out ghost white with a little bit of stutter in his voice out of the cockpit in the mid-air, do you get a little nervous?
No kidding.
I get a little nervous. And so we're
That's
pilots of our business. Yeah. So we get the opportunity to lead our teams well and give facts, but fight facts and fight fear. And so I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay. Because we're not flying anymore, I don't have to worry about that for a while. But anyway, good.
Well, what I would say, Steve, is that when you talk about that example that you just illustrated, for me, I always look at the loan officer, the wealth of knowledge that you guys have around the industry and what's changing. So then how can we transfer that knowledge into an absorbable format, whether it's digital or otherwise? And so let's take those insights that you have, keep it short, quick, and valuable, and take something as simple as a blog post, right? And so you write it up, you push it out, big deal. But then how can we amplify that further to help gain traction to that thought leadership, that insight, who you are, what you do, to that broader audience? And so when we start talking about a paid approach, it's a great example and the ability to do that. Talking about proximity and the ability to identify that area, those folks that you want to reach in a specific geolocation so that they can see those insights in front of them in real time to something that's very highly relevant to them right now, clicking through, absorbing that content and learning more, about what you do and who you are.
Dude, that's so good. I mean, I feel like at some level you're kind of talking like Albert Einstein, but on the other side, it's practical. I love that, man. Hey, and Dennis, how many calls a day? What do you like? Give me an idea. Originator today. What does your activity need to look like?
Well, the activity level needs to vary depending upon, do you have a good base of existing relationships? And if you do, you got to touch them at least twice a week. Give them a call on Monday or Tuesday, see if anything did occur in terms of activity, that they had something, which would be great. See what you can do to help them out. They need to hear from you. And then I touch them maybe the other part of the week with an email, or as Ben said, a social media post of some sort to let them know that you're working actively to try and get their name out there. With the new ones, I would do a call at least once a week with a past relationship that's gone dormant. Reactivate that relationship. They haven't sent you anything in 2020, touch base with them, just see how they're doing. Or if you get a new referral from another agent, use that referral as a reason to sit down and chat with them for 10 or 15 minutes. What are their strategies? What are they planning to do when they come out of this in the middle of the year? How are they going to get better in terms of their business, and what can you do to partner with them? So there's a lot of topics you can have. It's just a function of initiating the dialogue. That's what you got to do.
So for me, from the perspective to build off of that, is I look at frequency is really key, and is it appropriate? But then also, how are you expanding your digital footprint to be found by those that maybe really enjoy absorbing content on YouTube, but they're not really into LinkedIn? And so how are you spreading that information across different digital outputs to help you be indexed with Google for variance based on what the content is, as well as variance of your name. And then you're going to reach a different audience on each different social platform that you choose to use. And so is the messaging, are you modifying it accordingly for that specific platform so it resonates better with that target audience that you have? I think you need to take all that into consideration once you decide what you want to talk about and how you want to approach that specific topic.
Hey, and let me ask you something, Ben. You know what I've noticed recently? So what the approach we've taken is my strength is content, it's video. I mean, it's just what we do well in the podcast. And so what I've done is I've tried to modify that because it's really been for loan officer leadership, but I'm trying to do that now for realtors. And so what I'm doing is making the pivot and saying, okay, let's create, like, we're creating content. Like yesterday we did one that was about my counselor in Houston. He's well known. And I pulled him on a Zoom call and we said, how do you deal with anxiety, fear? How do you deal with stress? How are you counseling people that are leading teams at a high level? And so we've been working to really push that content. But Ben, the question is this. I noticed that on different platforms like, say, Facebook, there's a quick pop in, but the viewership is not near as long. Like, speak to the platform. Like, if I'm doing video, what's the right platform for video? If I'm doing primarily, and I know graphics are like Instagram, but talk about messaging in a platform. And then Dennis, I want you to talk about even more strategies of what are some of the outside of the box things that we keep doing to still prospect with Zoom and social distancing. So go, Ben.
Yeah, to address your question regarding Facebook, the stats are out there. I think you have about 3 seconds to make that impact on your video to keep viewership continuing to go and absorbing that content. It is a hard sell. It's a quick sell. So you need to make it very clear right up front what you are talking about, what value you're providing, and basically why should I continue to listen and hear what you have to say. I would also say the value in having a podcast like you, Steve, that you have is that you can slice and dice, cut that up a little bit. And so you could do teaser blips we haven't really talked about voice marketing and flash briefings. You could go ahead and if you are trying to target the real estate audience, create your flash briefing designed to index for search queries around the real estate industry. You can take bits and pieces of a podcast that's relevant to that audience, chop it up into a 1 minute, 3 minute segment, put it into a flash briefing to help drive awareness on a regular basis, but then also put that into a Facebook ad or a LinkedIn ad and drive traffic to that advertisement to raise, again, awareness with the right audience. The other thing I would say is don't forget about your first-party data. And I love to look at our CRM and look at who is in our first-party data and the ability to then slice and dice accordingly, find that right audience, but then using old-fashioned typical email to drive them to another channel, like a Facebook post that I have, right? And you put it in the form of an email newsletter and say, I have a great tip, I have a strategy, I have something that you care about, but you can't access it here in the email. In one click, though, you can hop over to Facebook, to that post. So Facebook and LinkedIn both allow you the ability to share specific links to a specific post. And so in one click, I can then go to Facebook. We know that most people have Facebook. Minimal drop-off. They can absorb the content there. And in addition, if you're using email to drive them someplace, ask them to do something. So the value in having people comment on your post from an algorithm perspective is really key. So ask them to comment on that post on Facebook, and you're going to help organically, without any money, drive awareness and visibility about that.
That's huge. Dennis?
Well, the one thing that's important is, what Ben just said, and we've tried to do with our flash briefings on a weekly basis, is try and educate as many people as we can as the tips for 3 to 5 minutes on just little things that are selling aids, whether it be with a realtor, whether it be with a borrower, or operationally, things that you have to be able to do to have a better existence for a customer experience. And I think the one thing that we all have to realize right now is that mentally we have to get ready for good times. Right now, I think we're all kind of mentally ready for adversity, and we're going through it. And I get all that. But I think more importantly, we are going to come out of this, and most of us are going to have to be ready to jump and strike when the iron's hot, when everything gets better, because there'll be a lot of pent-up demand, huge demand. And I'm excited about that. I really am, because I think the second half of the year could be better than we've ever dreamed of, possibly in the mortgage industry, because of the activity that's going to happen in the purchase market. And I'm pumped about that.
Hey, well, Dennis, talk about that real quick. As a veteran of this business, you've got a mix of audience. You've got guys that are millennials. What's interesting, they've never seen a rate above 4%.
Right.
I'm kind of joking, but I got in 2003, and I remember the house I first purchased. I was at 7.25 and 9.9. And listen, I did a no income verified asset loan, 100% financing. And so I think your perspective is refreshing. Talk to somebody who says, I'm nervous. I think that's probably good. But give a perspective of what you think will happen for those who are well positioned to take advantage, not take advantage, but really move in the opportunity and lead our people well.
The key is that what you have to have by the end of the summer, by the end of June, is approximately 5 core relationships you feel comfortable will really work with you if things turn the right way in the real estate market. So get 5. You don't have to get 10. You don't have to get 15. Just get 5 good agents that you feel confident. They trust you. They have a belief in you. And more importantly, they're the ones who will say to you, okay, look, things are turning around. I've got some clients. I need you to pre-qual them. You've been in touch with me. You've been actively involved with me. You're not just coming into it because now the market's turned around. You've been there since April. And if you can start to establish that, hopefully you already have 3 or 4, just get to 5 good ones, Steve. That's what you got to get to. And if you have that, you're in shape. And if you want more, go for it. But I mean, have 5 minimum. That's critical.
Hey, Dennis, you know what I did last week? And this will be a strategy for a loan officer listening. I grabbed 3 of my top agents. They have teams, and we close a ton of business together. We threw each other on a panel, and then we just said a conversation around real estate. You know, by the end of the week, we had a few thousand views because all 3 of us shared it. But it elevated them, it elevated me, and it allowed us in our small sphere to be an industry influencer. And so, you know, that's a great way to do it. What are you thinking, Ben? You've seen a few ups and downs.
Yeah, I was going to go back to one thing that Dennis mentioned in his flash briefing, and what I like that I see that he's doing is the ability to, and I think this transcends a lot for a lot of folks, is that I feel like we're naturally a little lazy in that we like easy to absorb content, we like video, we like the visuals, we like captions. And so an app, because I want to provide some opportunities for people to check out new apps and different products, is one that I like to use is called Headliner. You can take an audio clip, you can put a visual behind it, a graphic, you can animate what the voice is saying, you can easily add captions, and I find that that's a great way to also get your transcript of what's being said that you can then put into, YouTube, for example, to help you with indexing, because all those key terms that you're using in the transcript help there as well. But again, trying to make it easy to absorb and approachable for the person that's viewing it, I think is going to help increase your engagement.
Man, that's good.
And when you look at it, Steve, the one thing I really believe is, we all have to have a mindset now that, okay, is it half empty or half full? And I think it's more than half full. I think it's ripe for opportunity for the second half of the year if you put the effort in the second quarter. You've got to put the effort in. If you don't put that effort in, it's going to be challenging. That's my opinion.
Hey, and Dennis, talk to this. I think one of the greatest distractions we'll look at this year is the refi business. I think, don't get me wrong, I've got good refi business in my pipeline. But as an originator and as a market leader, I think the people that are focused on the relationships like you talked about, focused on purchase priority above refinance opportunity will not get distracted in this brief window. And talk to your originators and talk to managers who are coaching originators. What should they be saying in this time frame?
Well, I think the one thing that they should be doing is, again, any good management program, if you've had any good quality management development, you manage activities. You don't manage results. The results will come from activities that you do. And so if we make sure that our people contact 1 or 2 agents a week, that's 4 to 8 per month. That's it. That doesn't sound like a big number, but do that for 3 months. And you've reached out to 12 to anywhere to 24 agents. And if you manage the activity, and here's a way to manage an activity. Never manage a call report. I've been in business since 1976. I hate to date myself, but I've been doing this for a long time. I can make a call report look magical and probably did half the things I said when I worked at Xerox. But I still got away with it because I had good numbers. But the point was that it wasn't a valid documentation of my effort. Today, what we teach is whenever you have a conversation with an agent, when you're done, send out an email afterwards and BCC your manager. I mean, you're pretty twisted if you dummy up an email. Most people won't do that. So if I just see the emails coming across, and I know that they're making the calls, I feel good they're doing the activities. So every manager on this call, when your people make a contact to a realtor, have them send a follow-up correspondence, just recapping the conversation, and BCC you. And you know that they're doing the calls, and you can manage simply that activity of calls.
Man, that's good. Hey, you know what's interesting? Hey, well, you know, Dennis, one of the things I've been teaching the loan officers that work with me is that they're lead indicators and lag indicators. And
Right.
if you want to know where your business is at, the activity is one of the greatest ways to look at it, as well as the leads. So now you want to start breaking up the fact, hey, how many leads am I getting? And then you got to dissect it one more level. How many of those were purchased and how many were refis that you didn't even go after? Because if you're now at a 60-40, 60 refi, 40% purchase, you better flip that shift real quick, because it's literally going to change. And we're already seeing it. Lenders are pricing themselves out of the market now because there's a huge bottleneck. I keep telling people this. What just happened in the mortgage industry is like a 10-lane highway going into 2 lanes 2 miles ahead, and everybody's still driving 55 miles an hour. They didn't realize it's about to go down into 2 lanes. And so I think purchase is where we got to live if we're going to thrive at the end of this year.
It's like traffic in Houston. You know what that's like.
Well, the ones in Houston, that's what I tell them. From Houston to Katy, 10 to 2.
I was looking at the chat box here. I see a question from Whit that talks about form of communication you see being more effective in connecting with getting action from clients. When I read that, what I think about is I'm a big analytics guy. I like to look at analytics. I know many of the loan officers may not be familiar with analytics, but if you have a team or somebody that can look at your website traffic and look at where are people going, and you can slice and dice that with Google segments, analytics segments, so that you're able to see maybe by age demographic, by firmographics and functional roles, things like that. You can start to kind of paint a picture about what people on your site care about, what interests them, and I would create content around that. I mean, for me, because you already know it's first-party data, it's people on your website that know about you. So what do they actually care about? Yeah, they want to get a loan or a rate, but kind of pick maybe the top 10, 15 pages that they're hitting on your site, and just kind of analyze them and think about it. And what kind of content could I create off of that? And then putting it out into the traditional social platforms, email, etc.
That's good. Dennis, what are you seeing as an effective way as a loan officer? What's the more the loan officer side of that?
And, well, the thing a loan officer has to do is, as I mentioned, when you send out an email, mix it up. If you're going to send something to a realtor, get collateral material from like the loan officer hub that MGIC provides or other sources that is something that's an update that's not the same as everything else that you sent before. The follow-up correspondence is great for the contact, but then you've got to have something on a weekly basis that has contact that's valuable, that's informative. And I think there's so many resources out there, Steve, and Ben knows, through MGIC and other platforms, you can then simply add that and send it out with a personalized message to the agent, so you're giving him some marketing tips and tools. Nothing replaces the human conversation, but there's a lot of media sources you can use to still stay in front of them. That's what you got to do.
I think you're kind of getting at what is your marketing mix. And for me, what I like to use, it's been around forever, it's an oldie but a goodie, and I mentioned it the other day, is Google Alerts. And so you can create as many Google Alerts that you want. You don't need a Gmail email in order to set up Google Alerts. You simply need a Google account, which can be tied to any email. And then once you've done that, you can just put in any type of query. It's used on Boolean style search. So the quotes, the and or statements, you can be very niche if you want to, very granular, or you can be very broad. But what I like is you can add a geolocation factor to that as well. So we got to think about what's relevant to who brings money in the door, or my referral partners. What do they care about? And then let Google go find that content for you. And then you make a decision. You can see the content, whether it's a blog, a video, discussion forum. I mean, I look at it each morning and I say, this would be great on LinkedIn. This would be great on Facebook. This is garbage. This might be good on Twitter. You just do your analysis real quick and then you push it out to where is appropriate. But it's this idea of you need to know what are triggers for your referral partners, and let's go find that content. Because you have that golden rule. There's a lot of rules out there on content, but the 60-30-10 rule, 60% should be curated content, 30% should be your own company's content, and 10% should be promotional. I like to kind of follow that as a gauge.
Good. And that's good. Hey, and you know what I did this week? There's a mobile app that I just downloaded this week, Freedly, Freedly, trying to curate more of the news. I heard a great statement this weekend. My brother actually said it. He was saying that news should be checked and not watched. And, it's so easy to get lulled to sleep and drawn in by all of the statements and the fear and everything that's happening. And so one of the things we're doing is I'm using Freedly, and I created a mortgage lane, a real estate lane, and a financial markets lane so that it just curates the information. And then I'm looking at what's relevant, and it's been helping me get more content out to the audiences that we're servicing, which has been a huge help, man.
Yeah. You're mixing up the message. I like that.
I would add to that. So what comes to mind for me is Flipboard, which is an app-based program. You can really tailor your news. I like to do that. But also Twitter, for me, I've been on it for a while. It's really modified. I'm not a huge fan like I was when I was in computer software, but in this industry, I love it for one sole thing, which is Twitter notifications. It's this idea of if you're the first to know, you're the first to take action. And so without ever having to actively tweet, I can put on notifications for referral partners that I follow, competitors that I follow, news outlets in particular, because they're still very active on Twitter. And you just get a notification across all devices when they tweet out. You have to pay attention to frequency and how often those people are tweeting. But just that glance at my phone, and I can read the headline, I could open it up and read it further. I could retweet it if I wanted to, just to know what's going on. And again, a real example would be a customer that you have. They choose to use Twitter as their outlet. You put them on notifiers, and they tweet out it's their dog's birthday, it's their wedding anniversary. That should trigger you to do something, especially right now, to help lay the foundation for future months. Just get on the radar, stay on the radar. Social is great for when you can't be face-to-face. How can I still stay top of mind? Social media.
Oh, that's huge. Hey, Dennis, we got a question. It says, you mentioned talking to realtors. What are the questions you should be asking realtors right now?
Well, the first one is, what are their plans for the second half of the year? How do they view when they come out of this, based on everything we're hearing is coming out from the government? Probably not going to be business as usual until the end of June. So what are they doing currently in terms of their efforts to use things that would be tours? They could do virtual tours and things like that if they have listings. What are they doing with their buyers now? How are they setting their buyers up for success in the second half of the year? What are lenders doing to partner with them to help them get ready for that time frame? Because if their lending partners are not working with them now, and you reach out to them, say, would you prefer that we work together over the next 90 days to make sure the last 6 months are successful for you? Because realtors make their money between April 1st to October 30th. That's when they make the majority of their money every calendar year. So now we've taken 3 months out of that segment and cut it. So they're going to have to put in the extra effort through the holidays, through Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that stuff. So we got to be there for them and with them. Or many times we coast in the last 2 months of the year. We're going to have to push. And then we can still have a great year. And so can they. But we've got to make sure they know that we're going to be there with them. And I really mean this, and I said it, and I don't want to belabor the point. They're going to remember the ones that are there now, the ones who get there when the good times start. So now's the time to get these relationships set up through methods like Ben said, which is talking to them through social media, old-fashioned live discussions, emails. Just get in touch with them and talk to them. Now's the time to have the conversation because they're not busy. When they get busy, they're not going to talk to anybody except buyers and sellers.
That's huge. Hey, and one thing that we're seeing as well, I would start group chats. I wanted to add to that, Dennis, because, right now you have the opportunity. I don't have to have every product or program. And guys, like in the industry right now, literally every day guidelines are changing that like jumbos are getting stricter. Non-QM lenders are going out of business. Bond programs are no longer not only profitable, but you've got to immediately stop those. You've got FHA government credit score, some at 680, some at 640, some at 620, and a handful still at 580. And one of the things I think your message to your agent partners is this: I may not be able to do everything, but I know somebody who can. And
right.
So what we're doing is being solution-based lending. And we've got a group chat with some of the top guys in Houston that we're all friends through the Loan Officer Collective, a monthly lunch that we're doing. And literally this morning, one of them said, hey, man, I no longer can go down to a 580. And another one said, dude, I got you. Right now, we still got a solution. And we're literally handing loans over to the other person. One of them they had 6 jumbo loans in their pipeline, and they shut jumbo down last week. So another buddy who does portfolio lending picked it right up. And what we've committed to each other is we won't steal clients or partners, but we will help clients and help each other. And we found that being the resource is now being a great message to help. Hey, and one last thing on the communication, we always do phone, text, email, video. I would encourage you, like on the tactical side, make the phone call, shoot a text, do like a weekly update on the markets with curated content and maybe a bomb video. And then on the last part, so we got phone, text, email, and a video. And if you'll kind of rotate that, I think it's a great way to find out which agents. Some agents text, and then other agents hate text. Some call, don't text. You'll begin to learn who your people are, and that way you can communicate with them better. So mix it up.
Yeah, one thing, and I'll let Ben hop in. One thing I believe in strongly is we had an article on this recently on how to deal with millennials in communication, because they prefer text. They prefer text, and their second is email. Like the death kiss for them is the phone. They don't want to actually engage with somebody. Video might scare them as well, but it may not. We don't know until you start trying it. But when you text, and then if you text back, what happens is you're not building that personal bond. And since we can't do that in person anymore, I like your idea, Steve, of trying some video. You've got to build something there that's not electronic. If it's only electronic, right, text and you text back, then you become a commodity. And then more your commodity, it's a price-based decision. So with a borrower or a realtor who's text-oriented, every once in a while mix it up, and when they text you, the odds are on their phone are extremely high. I mean, it could be 90, 95%. Most people don't text from their computer. So if they text you, call them, catch them on the phone, and have a dialogue. It's harder to say no to a person than it is to an electronic communication. Don't forget that.
I would add to that, Dennis, is that I think when I look at social media and I think about how people are connecting, whether it's text or otherwise, I look at social in particular as the initial touch point oftentimes, and then how do I transition this to that more traditional like phone or email. And so again, social, because of the connection you might have with the folks that you're connected with on a specific platform, the ability to make that transition might be easier. I also, when you said texting, immediately thought of Facebook Messenger, and the ability to add a little bit more uniqueness there than just a standard text message, the ability to automate if someone chooses to get in touch with you through your Facebook business page, for example, through Facebook Messenger. You can set up those auto responses, a little bit of AI to help you out based on what they're looking for, and then you can tee it up so that you're more prepared when you do make that outreach, whether it's call, email, or just through Facebook Messenger. So helping yourself out a little bit there as well.
Man, that's so good. Hey, I had an introduction this last week, which is interesting. And the guy, he didn't text. He added me and another guy on the text, and he did a video. And he said, hey, it's Keith. I just want to make an introduction, so-and-so. And I thought, how creative was that? It wasn't just a text. He did a video and added us both in a group text. And it was so effective to see. So that's a great idea.
It's building the personal bond, and it makes it harder to say no to a person you can visualize than it is a written communication.
Yeah. Hey, and Ben, go ahead.
Well, especially with borrowers. I mean, today the borrower in a refi, they're going to shop, and you know as well as I do that one who's price-driven can wait to the 48th hour or 72-hour decision, and right there, I found a better deal for a 16th. And you just want to go, are you kidding me? And what you have to be able to do is make sure you've kept that personal contact so they're less likely to rescind and purchase. You got to stay in touch with them all the way to closing. All the way.
That's great.
And you can't take for granted that they're going to still be there if you're not personally building the time.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, and Whit Anderson asked Ben, what are your thoughts on Reach, mass text communication app, and do you think it's effective or just seems non-authentic?
I think it's worth a look in terms of what do you have time for and capacity for, and how are you seeing returns on that effort that's spent. I mean, for me, my personal mantra, minimum time, maximum value, where am I going to find the most amount of return on my time? And so with that, I saw the question in there about Snapchat and IG. I always look at it when I speak about social media is I don't see social as a silver bullet. I see it as one part of a holistic marketing strategy. So you got to understand, where's my key audience based on the statistics provided around social platforms like Pinterest, 80% female dominated. Does that or should that affect the type of content I put out there? And is it worth my time to learn that platform? When we talk about Snapchat, the age demographic, recent numbers that I saw was, I think at the oldest 22, but it's more of that 15 to 22 age range. Is that person really somebody that can bring money in the door? And so then is it worth my time right now, or is it a future state opportunity? And I'd say with IG, I like Instagram since day one because for me, I see it as a visual platform. It's a universal language. So I don't need to know the words that you speak or the language that you speak in order to resonate and connect with that visual message that you have out there, that beautiful picture or whatever it might be. I would also say, though, think about management of your time. And so where's your time best spent? I go back to from the algorithm benefit of stories as well as video. And so Snapchat for me has kind of fallen off with IG taking over in that aspect of having stories. And a lot of times when I talk about Instagram, I talk about this guy, Sean Cahan, Mortgage Geek. You may have heard of him out in California. I mean, I will literally stay up on Fridays and watch his IGTV channel to see him doing his spoof on basically getting coffee and cards with comedians, but it's just getting loan officers and really expensive cars, driving around and just talking about the business and things like that. I'm sure it takes him a ton of time to do those. So you have to weigh out the benefit, but he sees a lot of great return on that from a business perspective.
Yeah, that's great.
One of the things, Steve, I think it's important too is that, with my doing the deals on the flash briefings, it's really been a huge return for me. I get probably a customer every other month out of it who sees something there and wants to go more in depth, and it's worthwhile. So take the time, invest in something you think gets a return and gets a good message out, whether that be to borrowers or to realtors. You'll get your return if you invest in the quality.
Hey, Dennis, what it makes me think of, personally, we've all failed at a lot of things, but I know even whenever I was thinking about restarting the podcast, there was so much fear. I don't know about you guys, but I grew up my whole life. It was anything worth doing is worth doing. And I'm sure everybody could answer that. And half of you will say right. But that I hear my dad in my head saying, hey, anything worth doing, son's worth doing right. And I think our generation, which is in between the millennials and older, I'm 43, you get paralyzed by the fear of perfection. And what we're learning now is at the speed of technology, at the speed of the message, at the speed of how content is being consumed, you have to be okay with just doing it and being okay that it's not. I love it. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Just get started. And, whenever I hear about, you're talking about the flash briefing, I bet I've looked into it, but the challenge is everybody will look into it, but it's the consistency over time that actually is where the traction is gained. We've been trying to build an audience now. I realized last year I had great content, no platform, and I laughed with one of my guys, Eli. I'm like, bro, nobody knows how hard it is to build a platform. It's just consistent, daily grind, and nobody appreciates it. All they do is see the audience. Dennis, I thought about your database. How long has it taken for you to build that amazing database? And Ben, all these years you've been slaving with the Loan Officer Hub, where it's like everybody's like, oh yeah, these are great platforms now, but they have no idea that if you would have stopped when there was this traction. And so it's times like these where we're building traction because the message is right and we've done something even though it was badly at first. I mean, heck, we didn't even get Facebook Live right now. It didn't go through, but you know what? We're going to post the video. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think what helps is having a passion for what you're doing, which I think most loan officers do. You're not in the business unless you have that passion. And so, the goal of trying to make the industry better, that opens up so many opportunities for what you could do. Just having that single goal with something that you're doing to keep you motivated and keep you going.
I ask people all the time, whether it be in sales or operations, I say, how long have you been doing this? Let's say 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, 3 years, whatever the amount of years quantitatively it is. And then I ask, so every day you realize that you're going to come in and someone's going to be getting after you. Why isn't this done? Why isn't that done? Well, I have an answer. When will it close? So basically, we get into an industry that requires constant change every day. You have to embrace change. You have to foster innovation in your thought. More importantly, why don't you leave? Because we love it. We enjoy it. We enjoy the change. We enjoy the challenge. We enjoy the fact that no two loans or no two borrowers are alike. If we did the same thing every day, half of us would tap out. The fact that it's different every day, because I've been in it since 1984. That's a long time, boys.
I would add, if we're talking about the ability to grow something I think is often overlooked at companies, big or small, is internal brand advocates, your own people. And the stats are there to support. If you can have your own people that care and love the company, go out and share on social media a piece of content that you have or a message point or just anything that is related to whether it's branding for the company or an actual content piece, you're going to get a large exposure that way through your own people that are happy to do it. And so I think it's important to think about that when you are not just pushing something out from a corporate perspective, but also having your internal brand advocates supporting it as well to their network. Because everyone's network is different and it varies in size, it varies in interest. But to be that trust advocate for the person, the trust agent, the employees, I think, do that a little bit better than a corporate platform.
Hey, well, that's so true. It's so funny, Ben. I watched you promote this, and on LinkedIn, I was amazed at, it's all your MGIC people. Everybody is just coming in. You can tell there's a camaraderie socially on social media, and I just thought, what a great example of that. I think one of the things that I'm looking at as far as opportunity in the messaging, it's interesting. This is how come this came about, was you and I connecting over the weekend and just saying, okay, look, how do we link arms with people that maybe have different audiences but are passionate about the industry, passionate about making a difference, experts in your field and at what you do, because together, I always think about that all the ships rise when the tides come in. And so I just think that what a great message. Hey, and as we close, Dennis, give us some closing thoughts. Ben, you do closing thoughts, and then we're going to wrap up here.
Sounds good. I think the one thing that I want everyone to take away from this is opportunity versus pessimism. And when we look at what we have a chance to do, if we do the little things right, it's the really good, successful sports franchises do all the little things right. And say, 4 singles get you 2 runs. Don't forget that. You don't have to wait for the home run. Just get a single every week. Make sure you do that. Get those attempts in on calls with people now, not in the second half of the year. If you do those little things right, you'll have a great second half of the year. And be optimistic versus pessimistic. And if we live like that, we'll do better every week. And if you win every week, you're going to win in the second half of the year. That's my message.
Yeah, and I would agree. Break it down into easy chunks for you to do. Think about it weekly. And what program am I afraid of? Have I put off? Do I not want to learn? From a technology standpoint, let me take a week, 2 weeks, and when I have free time, learn a little bit about it. Go to the website, see what they have to say, so that you can start to build up your technology stack as it relates to promoting across different social platforms, if that's what you're going after. Or think about ways in which you can create marketing collateral and slowly start to build out those pieces so that you have them on an ongoing basis now and in the future.
Hey, and I love that. Hey, and Ashley, great question. She's Ashley Winmont. Love you, girl. She wants to know what, aside from the Loan Officer Leadership Podcast, shameful plug, but I'm just kidding. She wants to know, what are some of the podcasts you guys are listening to?
Yeah, for me, I like to listen to Carl White. He's got a great one that's out there as well. Jeff Zimfer and Jen Duplessis has one. We feature a lot of those on Loan Officer Hub as well. But I also like, for entertainment, just looking through and seeing what's trending. If I want to laugh, I'm talking, Conan. If I want to learn something, looking at some of the news outlets and what they have to say. There's a lot of them actually out there.
Dennis, what's a favorite?
Similar to Ben, I listen to some stuff, but I like Conan, and I do like things that are more, I look for relief. I read more than I do listen to podcasts in our industry. I try and read things in articles and blogs, and that helps me quite a bit. I think the one thing that you mentioned, Steve, is really important, is that if we don't have continuing education in many ways, be able to succeed. And so we have to look at all different ways. Again, you can't just have one path like Ben said. Look at different ways every week to try something different. I like that. And I'm going to do some things digitally that I haven't done before. And for people that know me and have been around for a long time, the kids used to call me Jurassic Park, because I was adverse to a lot of the technology. But I'm learning. It's getting better. And I'm actually having fun with it. So you can enjoy life even though you've been doing it for a long time.
That's great advice. Hey, and Ashley, one I would encourage you guys, listen to the Industry Syndicate. The Syndicate it's kind of a media platform that really pulls a lot of great podcasts and pulls some great real estate and mortgage related content. So there's another one as well. Hey, and for everybody who's watching, thank you. Dennis, it's so good to get to meet you and to spend time with you. I'm excited. We've got some great things coming up later this year. So thank you for that. Hey, and I want to encourage those guys with Dennis, make sure that you're checking out his content at dennisblack.com. The master sales training material that you got, it's phenomenal. I've heard so many great things about it. And then Ben, my goodness, you've been a friend for years. And although most of it's been through social media, and I've got to tell you, I'm just so delighted to bring you into, I know the loan officer leadership community, we need to hear your voice. I think you've been working on things behind the scenes digitally and amplifying. When you and I talked this weekend, I said that you're literally like an amplifier. You know how to get the right message out to the right people. So thank you for being here today. We appreciate that.
I appreciate being here, and even in the front seat of the car that's starting to fog up, so you don't
I see that.
3 kids yelling and screaming inside.
I was proud of you.
You can provide insights anywhere in the world as long as you got a little bit of internet and a laptop.
Hey, that's it, man.
And the one thing, Steve, everyone who's known me and I've trained before, they all send me some text saying, "Smile more." Well, this is the face that you get when I normally do the video role play with you guys. And that, sometimes it can be daunting. Don't worry. I'm not going to do it. You're not being taped. Don't worry about it. Anyway, Steve, thanks. It was great. You and Ben were wonderful. Appreciate the audience.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Hey, and you guys, I want to invite you to join the Loan Officer Leadership Facebook group. We're dropping great content. Join or make sure you're looking at the content we're putting up on Loan Officer Hub that Ben is leading. And so we're just thankful with it. You guys have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.